The Han penthouse sits 42 floors above the Han River, glass and steel shaped into something meant to look like freedom. It isn't. Zuri Adeyemi Han has counted every exit for 18 months. There are four. One leads to the private elevator, which requires a key card she has never been allowed to hold. One leads to the service stairwell, double locked from the outside. One is a fire escape, disguised behind a decorative wall panel she found by accident. The fourth is the front door, and in 18 months, she has never walked through it alone. She is standing at the floor-to-ceiling window now, her reflection floating above Seoul like a ghost the city doesn't know it's haunting. Her son, Coda, 7 months old, with her deep brown skin and his father's sharp jaw, is asleep against her shoulder, one tiny fist curled around the strap of her hoodie. She presses her lips to his temple and breathes him in. Behind her, the apartment is immaculate. Pale marble, artfully placed sculptures, a kitchen she is not allowed to cook in because the staff would be insulted. Everything designed to look like generosity. Everything designed to look like love. She learned the difference at month 3 when she made the mistake of asking where her passport was. "You won't be needing it," Han Jae-won had said, not looking up from his phone. "You live here now." He'd smiled when he said it. That was the worst part. The smile like it was the obvious thing, like only a fool would need to travel anywhere when you had all this. The door opens. Park Jun-sok enters, one of 4 full-time security staff assigned to the penthouse. He is the one who has been here the longest, 3 years to the others' months. He is the one who never smiles at her the way the others do, like she is something decorative that has become inconveniently complicated. He does not look at her directly. He never does, except in emergencies. "Mr. Han will be home in 40 minutes, he says. His English is precise, unhurried. He asks that you be dressed for dinner." Zuri doesn't turn around. "Tell him I have a headache." A pause. "I'll relay the message." He leaves. She watches the door close in the glass reflection. 7 months ago, on the night she came home from the hospital with Coda, she had passed out from exhaustion and woken to find Jun-sok sitting silently in the hallway outside her bedroom door. She had assumed it was surveillance, Jae-won's way of monitoring her. It took her 3 more months to understand that on that particular night, Jae-won had been angry, and Jun-sok had simply placed himself between the anger and the door. He had never mentioned it. She had never asked. Now, with Coda sleeping on her shoulder and 40 minutes on the clock, she makes the decision she has been circling for weeks. Tonight. It has to be tonight. Dinner is a performance, as always. Han Jae-won presides at the head of a table designed for 12, 2 place settings occupying one end like a still life of domestic normalcy. He is 41, handsome in the way that expensive things are handsome, maintained, polished, deliberate. He came from a family that built its fortune on construction contracts and a secondary fortune on the kind of silence that can be purchased. "You look tired," he says, not unkindly. "I am tired." Zuri keeps her voice neutral. She has learned that certain tones invite questions. Flat and agreeable is safest. "I've arranged for additional help with the baby. A night nurse. She starts Thursday." "I don't need a night nurse." "It wasn't a question," he says it pleasantly, refilling his wine. "You've been managing alone too long. It isn't good for you, or for Coda." She looks at him. Sometimes she still searches for the man she thought she was marrying, the man who had walked into her recording studio in Atlanta 2 years ago, charming and curious and genuinely fascinated by the music she was making. She fell fast and hard and been so certain she knew what she was seeing. She was wrong about almost everything except the fascination. He was fascinated. She just didn't understand then what he was fascinated by. "The night nurse," she says carefully, "will she answer to me?" "She'll answer to the household," which means she'll answer to him. Zuri picks up her fork. "Of course." Wait. New here? Don't just watch and disappear. Hit subscribe, because once you see what this channel does, you're going to want everything we've built. Afro-Korean stories, African women in Seoul, power, danger, love, escape, told the way they deserve to be told. Comment below right now. Your location, your time. Let's map this thing. Together. I want to see every single country in these comments. Across the room, near the entrance, Jun-sok stands at his post. He is always present during dinner. One of the rules Jae-won insists on, a quiet show of muscle to remind everyone in the room of the order. Zuri has stopped looking at him during these meals, because looking at him while feeling what she actually feels, fear, calculation, the constant low hum of planning, feels like too much of a tell. But tonight, she glances, just once. He is already looking away. She feeds Coda in the dark, the city spread out below like a circuit board lit from within. She has memorized his feeding schedule the way she used to memorize chord changes, with her body first and her mind a distant second. He drinks steadily, one hand pressed flat against her chest, and she thinks he has known nothing other than this apartment. This is his whole world. She is going to change that, and she is terrified of what it will cost. The knock is so quiet she almost doesn't hear it. 3 soft raps, then silence. Not the hesitant knock of household staff. Something else. She settles Coda in his crib and opens the door. Jun-sok stands in the hallway. He is not in his suit, he is in civilian clothes. Dark jacket, no tie. Off the clock, which means he chose to come here. That alone tells her something. Something has shifted. He holds out a folded piece of paper. "You should read this alone," he says. She takes it. He doesn't move to leave. What is it? The night nurse, the one starting Thursday. Her previous employment was with a facility in Busan, a private care facility, specialized in custody transitions. The words land like stones in still water. Custody transition. She knows what that means in this context. Jae-won doesn't want to take her son. He has no use for a small child. But he wants leverage, and a child is leverage, and there are men who make a business of creating the kind of legal confusion that leaves mothers standing in foreign courtrooms with no documentation and no rights. "How do you know this?" she asks. His jaw tightens again. "Because I researched her when I was given the assignment to clear her access." "And you're telling me?" He meets her eyes for the first time. "Yes." She stares at him. In this building, in this marriage, in this life, trust is not something she has been able to afford. But she also understands something about Park Jun-sok that she has never said out loud. He is not a bad man doing bad things. He is a disciplined man who has, until now, refused to look at what the discipline was serving. Something has changed that calculus. "Thursday is 2 days away," she says. "Yes." She looks back at her son sleeping in the blue-dark nursery. "I need to get him out." A long silence. Then, "I know." He shows her the gap at 6:47 a.m., the 17-minute window during the shift handover when the elevator camera loops a clean feed and the 2 guards at the lobby desk are signing transition paperwork. He has never used this gap for anything. He tells her this without explanation, and she understands that it is important to him that she know it. "You have a car registered to a subsidiary company." She has done her own research, quietly, on the household tablet they don't know she can access. Black SUV, not in the primary fleet log. He looks at her steadily. "You've been watching." "For a long time." "The car is for extractions," he says, without affect. "High-risk family members, asset relocations. Mr. Han uses it when he doesn't want a record." "Can you use it without a record?" Another long pause. In that pause, she can see the entire weight of what she is asking, not just the risk to her and Coda, but to him, his career, his safety. He has worked for men like Jae-won long enough to know exactly what happens to employees who make unauthorized decisions. "There's a contact at the Canadian embassy," he says. "I've had their number for 8 months." She blinks. "Why?" He looks at the security monitors. "Because I have been doing this work long enough to recognize what a situation becomes before it finishes becoming it." She wants to ask him what it cost him carrying that number for 8 months while watching this apartment, watching her. She doesn't ask. She adds the question to the list of things she will carry for him that she will never say out loud. "Tomorrow night," he says. "Tomorrow night," she agrees. Jae-won leaves for a dinner meeting at 6:30 on Thursdays. This is the single most reliable thing about him. An investor dinner at a private club in Gangnam, 2 hours, his phone on silent, The kind of meeting where showing up late means losing face, and losing face is the one thing he will not do for anyone. Zuri has packed nothing. No luggage, no bag that could be seen or searched, only what fits in the inside pocket of her hoodie, a folded document June's socks slipped under the nursery door at 5 a.m., a passport she has not seen in 18 months with a sticky note that reads, "I found it in the safe. Access code was Coda's birth date." And Coda himself, in his carrier, buckled against her chest. She walks into the hallway like she is going nowhere. Kim Tai-young, the Thursday evening guard, doesn't look up. He is young and bored and under the impression that she is obedient. This impression has been carefully maintained. The elevator opens on a looped feed. The lobby is empty of transition signing guards for the next 11 minutes. The SUV is in the basement parking level, engine running, June Sok behind the wheel. She walks into the elevator and lets the doors close. For a moment, she stands alone in the mirrored box, Coda's breath warm against her collarbone, her own heartbeat so loud it seems like it should be audible. She looks at herself in the mirror, at the woman who flew to Seoul 2 years ago, half in love and half in awe of a new life, who signed documents she didn't fully read, who gave up her studio, her phone plan, her name in her own country, layer by layer, the way you don't notice something being taken until you reach for it and find it gone. The elevator descends. She exhales. He is already out of the car when the elevator opens, not because he doubted she would come, but because he didn't want her to have to walk the distance between the door and the car alone. "Are you ready?" he says. "No," she says honestly. "Let's go." He opens the passenger door. She notices, will keep noticing for a long time after this, that he opens the passenger door, not the back door. She is not cargo. He has been thinking about this. The SUV pulls into the basement access tunnel, and she does not look back at the parking level, at the elevator, at the 42 floors above them that have been her whole world for 18 months. She looks at Coda, whose eyes are open now, dark and wondering, taking in the fluorescent tunnel lights as they streak past. "What happens when Jae-won finds out?" she asks. June Sok's eyes stay on the road. "Tonight he finds out. Tomorrow he will make calls. The day after he will have legal leverage in motion." A pause. "You need to be out of South Korea before the day after." "And you?" A silence that answers more than words would. "You'll lose your career," she says. "I'm aware. And potentially more than that. Also aware." She watches the tunnel end and the Seoul night open up around them, neon and traffic, and the vast indifference of a city that has 10 million lives happening simultaneously and no particular investment in hers. She has never loved a city less and never been so glad to see one. "Why?" she asks, not accusingly, genuinely. He doesn't answer immediately. The city light moves across his face, blue, red, the amber of street lamps, the white of oncoming headlights. He looks exactly as contained as he always looks, except that she has spent enough time watching him to see the thing underneath the containment now. "Because," he says, finally, "because I have a sister. She's 24, she lives in Incheon, and for the last 3 years I have been telling myself that what I do for work has no connection to what I believe about the world." He stops at a red light. It does. Everything connects. She doesn't say anything for a while. Then, "Thank you." He nods once and drives. They are 7 minutes from the first checkpoint, a safe house June Sok arranged through a contact he will never name, when his earpiece crackles. His posture changes. She sees it before she hears anything, a fractional hardening of the shoulders, a tightening of his grip on the wheel. "Change of route," he says, low and even. "What happened?" "The building CCTV. Someone ran the footage early, one of the overnight guards. He takes a left turn that wasn't in the plan. We have maybe 6 minutes." She looks at Coda. He is asleep again, improbably, miraculously, because babies do not understand the texture of danger, only the warmth of the person holding them. She pulls the carrier strap tighter. "Are we going to make it to the safe house?" "No," he checks the mirrors. "We're going to the embassy directly." "You said that was the riskier option." "It was. Now it's the only option." She processes this. She has spent 18 months learning to process bad information quickly because slow processing in that apartment meant visible fear, and visible fear meant questions. Okay, she says, tell me what I need to do. When we arrive, you walk through the front public entrance. You do not stop. You say you are requesting emergency consular assistance and your son is a Canadian citizen by virtue of his grandfather. My father was born in Toronto. She had told him this once in passing 4 months ago. He had kept it. Correct. Show him his birth certificate. It's in the document folder. I know. She is already unzipping the hoodie pocket. And you? I park. I make sure no one follows you in. Then I make a phone call. To your contact? To my lawyer, he says. It is the first thing he has said tonight that makes him sound afraid. The embassy is lit from within, the Canadian flag lit from without. It looks, at this hour, like a building that is both official and fightly indifferent to the drama unfolding outside it, which is accurate. Embassies are bureaucratic organisms, and bureaucratic organisms do not metabolize urgency well. She gets out of the car before it fully stops. Old habit from a childhood watching action movies. She wonders if that detail would be funny under different circumstances. June Sock's window rolls down. Zuri. She turns back. He will try to frame this as abandonment. Document every interaction from this point. Every word, every face, every timestamp. You are not a woman who abandoned her husband. You are a woman who documented an escape. There is a difference, and it matters legally. She holds his gaze. I know. Then, don't disappear. He looks at her for a long moment. I won't. She turns and walks through the gate. The guard at the entrance is a young Korean man in Canadian diplomatic employ who looks like he has had a very routine Thursday and is not prepared for a woman arriving on foot with a baby strapped to her chest and a folder of documents and a specific, deliberate calm that suggests she has been holding herself together through sheer will for a long time. I need to speak to the duty officer. Emergency consular assistance. My son is a Canadian citizen. He reaches for a phone. The room is small and fluorescently lit and smells of printer toner and instant coffee. She sits with Coda awake in her arms now, looking around at the bright lights with his serious, wondering expression. She talks to him quietly, about nothing, about everything, about the way the city sounds at night, about the music she is going to make again when they get somewhere safe, about the studio she had in Atlanta that smelled like old carpet and possibility. The duty officer is a woman in her 50s named Christine, who arrived with reading glasses pushed up on her forehead and a thermos of tea and the kind of unhurried competence that makes her look like she has handled situations exactly like this before. She probably has. Take me through everything from the beginning, Christine says. Don't worry about what sounds dramatic. I need the facts in order. Zuri takes a breath and begins. She speaks for 47 minutes. She has rehearsed this, not the words, but the sequence, the structure, dates, incidents, the passport, the document she was asked to sign relinquishing custody should she leave Korean territory without consent, which she signed because at the time she didn't know what she was signing, the night nurse and what June Suk found, the pattern of isolation that began so gradually she barely noticed it becoming architecture. Christine makes notes and asks precise questions and does not once look at Zuri with pity, which is the thing Zuri has been most afraid of. Not disbelief, but pity. Pity is a door that closes. The man who brought you here, Christine says, where is he now? In his car, I think, or gone. She pauses. He was employed by my husband. He helped us anyway. He'll be at risk. Yes. Christine makes a note. I'll see what we can do. June Suk is sitting in the parked SUV when the first call comes. He looks at the screen. Han Jae-won. He lets it ring out. The second call comes from the head of household security, then from the company's legal director, then from a number he doesn't recognize, which means someone has already gotten far enough to find a lawyer willing to make calls at this hour. He turns the phone face down on the passenger seat. He thinks about the word he used to use to describe his job when people asked. Security professional. He had liked the precision of it. Not a guard, not a bodyguard, a professional. a person with a discipline and a method and a code. He has understood, these past 7 months, that the code had always been his own, quietly maintained inside a job that was never designed to care about it. He makes the call to his lawyer. He is brief and precise. He described what he did and why, and states that he will cooperate fully with any consular authority. His lawyer, who has known him for 11 years and has heard most things, is quiet for a moment when he finishes. Then, "You know what this means." "Yes." "There will be criminal exposure. Han will push for—" "I know what he'll push for." Another silence. "Was she in danger, the child?" "Yes." "Then that's what we build on." A pause. "I'll see what we can do." He ends the call. Outside, Seoul continues without him. 10 million lives, 10 million private calculations about what is worth what. He has made his. He sits with it, not peacefully exactly, but honestly, and honesty has its own weight and its own strange steadiness. His phone buzzes again. This time the number is the embassy's main line. He answers. They bring him in through the side entrance, which is a small mercy. He sits across a low table from Christine and a younger officer whose name Zuri doesn't catch, and the three of them speak for a while in the clipped, careful language of people constructing a legal and logistical bridge under time pressure. Zuri watches from across the room. Coda is in a portable crib the embassy produced from somewhere. She did not know embassies kept portable cribs, but apparently they do. And sleeping again, the compact, total sleep of a person who has no idea how much has been risked on his behalf tonight. She watches Jun Suk in this meeting, in this fluorescent light, stripped of the suit that was his armor and the role that was his identity, and she sees him clearly for the first time without the variable of her own desperation shaping the picture. He is a man who does what he says he will do. He is a man who noticed what was happening inside a house he was paid to secure, who carried the weight of that knowledge for 8 months, who chose a moment and acted. He is a man with a sister in Incheon and a lawyer on the way and a phone full of unanswered calls from a powerful man who is going to make the next several months very difficult. He is not a hero. He did not arrive on horseback. He opened a car door and drove through Seoul and made a phone call and sat in a waiting room. She finds that she respects this more than she would have respected the horseback version. By 4 a.m., the preliminary consular documentation is complete. By 5 a.m., a humanitarian visa pathway has been opened pending full review. By 5:30 a.m., Christine has connected Zuri with a Korean immigration attorney who specializes in exactly this kind of case and who will be in the embassy by 8. Jun Suk's lawyer arrived at 2:47 a.m. and has been in a separate room with the consular officers ever since. At some point in the hours between midnight and dawn, the crisis becomes a process. It does not become safe as months away, maybe years, contingent on courts and documents and the long grinding machinery of international family law. But it becomes a process, which means it becomes survivable. Zuri is sitting on a bench in the hallway with Coda when Jun Suk comes out of the meeting room. He looks tired in a way she has not seen before, not the controlled fatigue of long work shifts, but something deeper, the tiredness that comes after a thing you cannot take back. He sits down at the other end of the bench, leaving space. "How does it look?" she asks. "The consular side is cooperating. My lawyer says there is exposure, but there is documentation of the night nurse's background, and that changes the framing." He exhaled through his nose. "It will take time." "I know." "You should know he will fight, Jaewon. He will use every resource. What you're walking into is not an ending, it's a beginning of a long thing." "I know that too." She looks down at Coda, who is examining her finger with the solemn concentration of someone conducting serious research. "I've been preparing for a long thing for a while." A silence, the kind that isn't empty. "Your music," he says. "You had a studio in Atlanta." She looks at him. "You looked me up." "Before I was assigned to the household. Not an apology, not quite not. You had released 2 albums. The second one, the one with the gray cover, was very good." She laughs, and the sound of it in this fluorescent hallway surprises her. She had not forgotten what her own laughter sounded like. It sounds rougher than she remembers, and more real than she remembers. "Thank you," she says. "I thought you should know that someone heard it." He says it simply, without performance. "Before all of this." She nods. She will think about that sentence, "someone heard it," for a long time. In the long months ahead, in the legal proceedings and the depositions, and the nights when Coda won't sleep and the fear has not gone away, and the studio is still a dream she is rebuilding from scratch, she will think about a man who listened to her music in preparation for a job and kept that information privately, like something he had no right to say out loud, for 18 months, and then said it in an embassy hallway at 5 in the morning because he thought she should know. She will not tell him any of this for a long time. She will tell him eventually. The window faces east. Seoul at dawn is a different city than Seoul at night. Less neon, more human, the kind of ordinary that arrives with the light. Street vendors setting up, buses beginning their routes, the smell of food and exhaust and possibility that belongs to every early morning in every large city anywhere. Zuri stands at the window with Coda on her hip, watching it. He is awake and quiet and looking at the city with the focused, absorbing observation of someone who has not yet learned that the world is sometimes dangerous. She will have to teach him that. She will also have to teach him something else, something harder to name and more important. She has been thinking about how to say it. The world is sometimes dangerous, and there are people in it who will use your trust against you, and there are also, rarely, people who will walk away from everything they know because the alternative is wrong. You cannot know in advance which person you are standing next to. All you can do is stay awake. All you can do is notice. She presses her lips to the top of his head. Behind her, she hears Jun-suk stand up from the bench. "My lawyer needs me," he says. "Go." She doesn't turn around. "Jun-suk." "Yes?" "Don't disappear," she says again. A beat. "You said that already." "I know, I mean it both times." She hears him cross the hallway, the sound of a door opening and closing. She stays at the window. The light is spreading, slow and indifferent and magnificent across a city of 10 million lives. One of them is beginning again. She watches it come. The studio smells like old carpet and possibility. She had forgotten that. She had not forgotten anything else, not a single detail of the 18 months, not a document, not a conversation, not the precise weight of Coda sleeping against her shoulder in a Seoul penthouse while she counted exits. She has given that weight to lawyers and translators and family court commissioners and a therapist in Midtown whose office has a plant she has come to find inexorably comforting. The legal case in South Korea is ongoing. Han Jae-won's lawyers are formidable and well-funded and working their way through a mountain of documentation that includes, among other things, the studio smells like old carpet and possibility. She had forgotten that. She had not forgotten anything else, not a single detail of the 18 months, not a document, not a conversation, not the precise weight of Coda sleeping against her shoulder in his Seoul penthouse while she counted exits. She has given that weight to lawyers and translators and family court commissioners and a therapist in Midtown whose office has a plant she has come to find inexplicably comforting. She had forgotten the smell. She is sitting at the board with her engineer, running the first take of a new track, and the sound in her headphones is rough and imperfect and fully hers, and she is crying a little, quietly, in the way you cry when something is over and something else has started and the two things are the same event. Coda is 13 months now and in the daycare down the hall, under the supervision of her cousin Ariaze, who has taken the position of primary person who will destroy anyone who tries anything with great personal seriousness. The legal case in South Korea is ongoing. Han Jae-won's lawyers are formidable and well-funded and working their way through a strategy his money built. Zori's lawyers are formidable and better prepared and working their way through a mountain of documentation that includes, among other things, a comprehensive record assembled over 8 months by a former security professional who turns out to have a meticulous memory and a thorough understanding of what constitutes evidence. Jun Suk is in Seoul. He is no longer employed in private security, which was both predictable and formally final. He is in the long, unglamorous middle of having done the right thing when the right thing had no guaranteed outcome. Talking to lawyers, talking to consular officials, maintaining the record with the same quiet discipline he maintained everything else. They speak on Thursdays. This had been unplanned and then becomes simply true. She takes off her headphones. "Play it back from the top," she tells her engineer. The track starts. Her voice in the room is strange and familiar, the voice she had before, shaped around everything that happened after. She listens. It is not quite finished. It is not supposed to be yet. She picks up her pencil and begins to write.